Hey everyone, Catch 'em All Collectibles here. So usually I don't do videos on Tuesdays, but for anyone who checked out yesterday's video, this is a follow-up, a continuation on what I originally intended to be one video. It was going to be way too long, so I split it into two. If you didn't check out yesterday's video, it should be popping up in the corner right here if I know what I'm doing. Definitely, I would say go check it out. At least spend a minute clicking through the images so that you can see the cards themselves. Yesterday was kind of the eye candy. Today you're stuck just looking at me and my spreadsheet slash eBay listings. So as I mentioned in yesterday's video, I'm going to be bringing these cards to market that I have had in my collection, kind of the pinnacle of my collection for over a year now, most of these. The next spreadsheet, I'll show you what I paid on everything I can be transparent for, as I mentioned. But here are the cards. Quick overview. Pikachu trainers 1 through 4. I'm intentionally not showing you the list price over here because I'm going to show you that on the spreadsheet. All my art academies, Victory Orb, the non-Mew Victory Orb, Mysterious Pearl, and then a fan club, Eevee and Porygon. So that I didn't kind of spoil the surprise for anyone who follows my Instagram, YouTube, and eBay altogether. I don't know how many people that would pertain to, but I have these listings scheduled. I guess I'll just mention the scheduled functionality on eBay. So instead of making a listing go live instantly as you post it, you can pay 10 cents to have it go live at a later date. I have these scheduled to go live maybe an hour after this video drops. So if you're watching this right when it's dropped, they might not be up yet, but they'll be up very soon. I know a lot of the consignment guys, like shout out James, ZNG Emporium, shout out Nick, Old School Pokemon. Instead of listing Sunday night because they wanted to end the subsequent Sunday night, they can list anytime throughout the week and they can say, hey, I don't want this to go live until Sunday at 9 p.m., 10 p.m., whatever time they want the auctions to end. So it's a handy feature. I figured I'd just mention while I was here. So anyways, we'll get into the real data. So here it is. Decent bit of stuff going on here. So I'll just walk you through it. Column A, we've got just the name of the cards. Column B, we've got the grading company. Column C, we've got the grade. You'll see for some of these, there's missing data. Some of it I've withheld for privacy reasons, I guess. As I mentioned, I don't disclose prices where the seller and or buyer asked me not to. So the full art Pikachus are really interesting. Really interesting because they're cool cards. Really interesting because only 6 were awarded to each place for each given year. As I mentioned in the last video, these have spanned 6 years, 2014 through 2019 so far. We don't know what's going to happen. Since I recorded the last video, it was announced that 2022 Worlds is indeed happening, intended to happen this year. Let me double check the dates quick so I can say that. August 19th to 21st, 2022. So hopefully Worlds actually happens August 19th to 21st, 2022 in London. And then we can see, are we going to get more years of these full art Pikachu releases or are we going to get a new design? That will either cap us at 36 of each art or it will add on 42 or more. But anyways, continuing through the columns, we've got D is last sold. E is low list on eBay. F is my listing price. And then G is my cost. So I can show you my cost on everything except for the full art Pikachus, which might be a bummer to some people, but I will show you down here. You can see kind of the top of a buy thread I made a couple of years ago on E4, where I posted what I was offering. And I'll get into that in a little bit, but just to round out, column H is the date that I purchased it. So this is just month/year. So I bought my number 1 Pikachu in February 2020. You can see that I bought my first full art Pikachu in August of 2019. I made this buy thread in August of 2019 over on E4. And I finished my collection of 1 through 4 full art Pikachu a little over a year later, buying the number 2 was my final piece in November of 2020. So column I, just to round it out, we've got, these are how many are in the PSA pop total. I will put a disclaimer PSA is terrible at calling these cards by their name. Some of them are World Championship promo. Some of them are trainer promo World Championships. So these were the PSA populations of my place, my year for the same card. So the 2014 number 1, there was only one other, and it was a PSA 10. I believe that is a copy that Scott owns or used to own. And then the other ones, I had all pop 1 of 1 for that given labeling. There could be other 2019 number 3s listed. There could be other, I forget the years of my 2 and 4, 2016 or 2015 and 2017, I believe. There could be other ones of those that exist in the pop report. They're just labeled differently, so they only show as like pop 1 of 1. Pops are kind of silly to think about when there's only 6 of a card created in total, because that's kind of the limit on what it should be, barring any extra copies. I just wanted to put that out there. Where it becomes more interesting and relevant, I think, is on the other cards with 100. You can see all the Art Academies have 100 intended distribution. The Mysterious Pearl has a 1,000 intended distribution, and the Victory Orb has 153 intended distribution. 2 question marks are the fan club cards. So if you played in those seasons that they were awarded, you had to amass 500 points for Eevee, 700 points for Porygon. You had to redeem them to get those cards. How many people actually redeemed them? I don't think we have a good number, but you can look at like the total grade of that PSA. Maybe you can extrapolate to some extent from other similar cards. I would have to guess, given these pops, maybe low thousands range. I would be shocked if it was under 500. I mean, I can almost definitively say both of those were at least 500 of them created, but I'd also be shocked if it was over 5,000. So it's a fairly big range, but it's a range I'm fairly confident in stating. But yeah, anyways, continuing to work through this, you'll note that a lot of my prices are probably feeling fairly high when you look at them. I did mention in last video, these are I'm a business. These are all inventory, but they're inventory that I really like. The collector side of me definitely factors into the pricing of certain items. If it's an item like this that I can reasonably call up my distributor in 6 months and there might be a reprint coming, if it's an item that even if there's no further reprint, this is well within the 2-year window. But if there's no further reprint, I know that there were hundreds of thousands of these made, if not a million, and these are going to be like reobtainable in the future for a long time. So I'm more apt to like price competitively and move them. Whereas these cards, you can see with the full art Pikachus 1 through 4, none are listed. When my listings go live, they will be the only copies 1 through 4 on eBay, as far as I know. I did browse it quick before I did this. Some have been listed recently. I know Rusty, TCA Gaming, did a video where he seemed to have picked up a copy of number 4, I believe it was. I know a couple private sales. I did show one interesting thing that I'll comment on a little more in depth. So this number 4 Pikachu, I actually sold it. I sold it some time ago, about a year ago now, I believe. And then the owner, the buyer, it's funny, I sold it right through eBay. I didn't see anyone picking it up. I didn't see the news hitting anywhere, but it sold right through eBay, a public sale, kind of under everyone's noses, or maybe no one cared to look for it. And then the owner sent it to the PWCC vault. They ended up relisting it a couple months later, right around what I had sold it to them for, I believe. And so I just reached out to them. Hey, are you listing this, like seriously looking to sell it? I ended up coming to terms with them. I reacquired it. Part of the reason that I can't disclose what I sold it for, what I paid, what I sold it for is kind of silly because it was public. So maybe somebody knows, maybe people know, but that buyer slash seller didn't really want me to disclose any of the private details, so I won't. But that number 4 Pikachu has an interesting story because I sold and then later bought back the same exact copy, the same exact cert. So I did actually, in the last video I mentioned, I can see a future where I might break up my set, selling 4 first, because then I still have 1 of each art. And that's how I kind of did it. That's how I justified it. It's like, okay, I'm going to get I'm going to get like a flow of capital in. It's going to kind of suck the pinnacle of my collecting career, the greatest chase I ever put together, some of the best cards I own, and I'm going to break up the set, but I still had the 3 arts. So a couple months later, I was able to put it back together. So I'm happy having gotten it back together. But I did also mention like the 1, 2, and 3, if anything, are even more unreasonably priced. Maybe they might be priced to a higher premium, given that you're going to need to do more to pry them away from me, to break up my set in a way that isn't as clean. If someone buys my 2, then I've got a 1, 3, 4. It's just not as clean and nice. But yeah, it's there. They're all buy it now or best offer. I do have auto decline on a lot of these, but my auto declines are probably 50% of the list price, something like that, to just keep away the really, really low stuff, and anything that might be worth entertaining we'll get through, and we might have some conversation on it. But yeah, you will see. So for the first 5 here, there's no competition. My list price might be unreasonable. It might be a lot higher than it's worth, what these are worth. They don't have a fixed price. But I know, like, if I were to send all these to auction, they'd likely all achieve a fair bit less. Some maybe drastically less, but that's why I'm not sending them to auction. I don't have to sell these. I, in some ways, don't want to. I'm just making them available. But yeah, you can see here, like the Melly Pikachu, there's a PSA 10 listed for 18,000. I'm coming in at 15 or best offer. Last sold was about 8. I actually sold the one through PWCC for about 8. It's my last one. When I had 2, okay, I'll auction one, I'll sell it for 8. Happy with that. Now that it's my last one, though, I'm definitely not going to match 8. I'm not going to match 8 minus the fees that I paid. I probably got closer to 7 for that, selling it through PWCC. I'm going to have to be convinced to sell my copy. I don't necessarily think the card is going to double and become worth 15 anytime soon. But I also think that a card like that is a lot more capable of maintaining its price or growing healthily from here. Healthily, if that's a word. The Victory Orb, there was a sale. So anything with an asterisk, there should be a note over here. So the last sale of a Victory Orb was $16,800. That was through PWCC, I believe. That was a PSA 10. So it's not apples to apples. I have a CGC 9.5. People seeing the CGC 9.5, and I might have mentioned it too, but well, why don't you cross it to a PSA 10? I looked at it. It's slightly off center, and it does have I believe it has a 9 centering, and then very, very strong surface edges, and maybe either the edges or the corners is like a 9.5, I believe. But to me, honestly, it doesn't feel like a 10. It feels like a 40% chance I'd get a 10, maybe 60% chance I'd get a 9. So it's probably just going to stay in the CGC case for now. And given that a 10 sold for 16.8, I've got like $4,000 into it. I'd be happy to take low 5 figures probably. Again, I'm happy to own it. I really like the card. There's only 153 made, only 18 graded with PSA. I'm going to make it available to the market, and if they want it, they'll get it. If not, I'll keep it. But you can see, like, right now, the current low list, and it's for a raw copy. The low list is a raw copy out of Japan, I believe, $32,000. So mine is pretty reasonable value compared to what else is on the market at current time. A lot of the art academies, you can see that, like, here's a Lily Chan for 15,000. I'm putting mine up for 12. CC means collector's cash. Collector's cash actually has a few of these copies up as the current low list on the market. The Zyme, I believe that's how you say it, Zyme Pikachu. The low list is 9,500, and I believe that's from Chile. I think that's where the winner was. So the 9,500 is a raw copy from Chile. You're subject to get whatever. I mean, it could be a PSA 8, could be a PSA 9, 10, obviously, could be anything. So 9,500 is kind of the gambler's price. last sold, I believe the winner themselves auctioned raw one for 5,000. So I'm pricing at 12,000 or best offer. I'll see if anything comes in. Mysterious Pearl is a very interesting one. I made videos on this channel several months ago. I actually sold a PSA 10 copy for $16,000. And then PSA 10s proceeded to decline about 75%. I believe a couple were auctioned and consigned through Rusty and maybe Scott as well, that sold in the $4,000 to $6,000 range. And then most recently, I believe, so I didn't put it here because mine's a CGC 9, but I believe James recently consigned a PSA 10 that sold for about $9,000 last week, somewhere in that vicinity. So 10 went for 16. I sold myself through the PWCC vault, tanked all the way to 4. Now it's up to 9. I'm pricing my CGC 9 at 10 grand, which is definitely expensive. There is currently a PSA 9. I put PSA 9 whitening. I think that was a sale. Or maybe that's the low list. Something to do with a PSA 9 for 4,500. I think that's a buy it now on eBay. And then there's a raw one on Yahoo Japan for 9,500. And then there's a couple on Mercari, anywhere between 2 and 5 grand, that are, I believe, like more like near mint, not really mint, in the 2 to 5 grand range. So yeah, I'm priced pretty high there, but it's my last pearl. So, well, I think I have a binder copy that's pretty rough shape, but it's my last graded pearl. So I'm clinging a little tighter to it just since I don't have duplicates. And that goes for all of these. All of these, I have no duplicates. So if I sell them, they're leaving my inventory, leaving my collection, potentially permanently, potentially not. But Tangrowth low list is 20,000. So low list is 20,000 for a PSA 9, and 8,000 is a raw near mint copy from Collector's Cash. So these 3 cards all have that Tangrowth, Chespin, and Kecleon. There's an owner out there on eBay, 20,000 or best offer. I'm coming in at 50% of the low list price graded. And then I'm slightly more expensive than like the near mint price. So again, there's kind of that gamblers. If you want to gamble on an $8,000 buy it now for a near mint card, you could grade a 9, you could grade a 10, who knows? You'd have to look at the images. But mine will be available 10,000 or best offer. And then getting down to the fan club. So all the other cards, I'm going to be the lowest on the market. I might not be a reasonable price in some regards to last sold. I'm a fair bit above it. You can see a couple last solds where I'm quite a ways above it. But so there's fan club Eevee, buy it now for $49.50. Again, it's my last copy. I kind of like the card. I'm going to list mine at 6 for now. 6 or best offer. Mine doesn't seem like it would be like a regrade potential for a 10, but I'm not a seller at $49.50. So I'm just going to list it a little higher. Same goes for the Porygon, last sold at 2,000. I'm going to list mine at 3,000 or best offer. Or sorry, low list, not last sold. I didn't see any last sold for those that I could find. So yeah, that is the, oh, I didn't really talk about the cost. So you can see all the art academies. I mentioned in the last video that unfortunately I wasn't buying them back in 2016 when they came out, 2015, 2016 for 100 to 300. I remember when these were selling, a lot of them for $100 to $300 raw from the winners. I picked up most of them in the high 3 figures to low 4-figure range. I did pick up, so the Raincoat Pikachu, the Fujishima, I picked that one up graded. The Melly, I bought 2 of them raw for $1,550 each, both graded 10s. I did really well timing those because shortly after I bought them, they kind of ballooned. The Victory Orb was an interesting one because I put my cost was $4,000. I actually bought a graded PSA 10 for around $3,000 to $4,000 a few years ago. And then I traded my copy with someone who had a raw one, the raw one that graded the CGC 9.5. I did the trade before I knew the CGC grade, but I traded my raw copy and they gave, I traded my PSA 10 copy and they gave me the raw copy and about $3,000. So I nearly got my entire cost basis out of the card, downgrading it from a PSA 10 to a CGC 9.5. So my cost in this was $4,000 I'm putting. going back to the original PSA 10 copy I bought, but in many ways, my cost basis is $1,000, closer to that after the trade that I did. Yeah, and then a lot of these other copies I bought right around 1,000 or a little under. Same goes for the Eevee fan club in Porygon. I paid $645 for that. And you can see the dates. A ton of these I was picking up. Late 2019 was like Dan's going shopping for promos. I opened a box of every set, which was my main goal when I got back into the hobby. I pretty much bought everything I wanted for sets. I had PSA 9, all the WotC Hollows first edition. I had PSA 9 Level X's, Legends, PSA 9 Old School EXs, Gold Stars. And I was just looking for the next level. Good timing. I definitely timed it well by luck. I didn't buy these thinking these are all going to 10x, 5, 10, 20x in the next few years. I bought these just because they were the next step in my collecting journey, and it just timed well. That's what a lot of it is. And the one exception for the Art Academy, so the single most expensive Art Academy I bought was the Pigare Delphox. I bought it through Instagram. I apologize if whoever I bought this from is watching. I don't remember the name, and Instagram is terrible to search. It's not nearly as easy to search as most other messaging platforms. So I paid $3,000 to $3,500, I believe, on that. I didn't even put the date. Sometime in 2021, I believe. Yeah, early mid 2021, I believe I bought that. So that's one missing date that I just couldn't turn up. But decent bit of conversation there. I didn't check the clock when I started recording, but this is going to be a long one. Hopefully worthwhile. So this is kind of the genesis of all this. This thread, this was where I was at the hobby, wrapped up a lot of great deals with this buy. Oh, sorry. I thought that was context for why I was making the buy thread, but not. August 2019, just for context, this was a few weeks before Worlds. My line of thinking when I made this thread was, hey, I'm going to Worlds. I'm going to go shopping. I want to get a full art Pikachu. And I thought the best way to do that, hey, when I go down there, I want to just have a buy thread in my pocket that I can like show to people. And part of it too is like, I wanted to make this public so that if any other members of E4 were going to Worlds as well, and they had these that they wanted to sell, I was trying to arrange purchases for when I was down in DC, was 2019 Worlds. So I made the buy thread. You can see I tried to, where did I mention it? I put, I'll update this as I go and strike through anything I obtain. It is interesting to have a snapshot in time I can look back at years from now, like today, to see what I was offering on cards. I wish more old threads like this existed. Some do, but not enough. So this is, I never knew 2.5 years later, I'd have a YouTube channel and I'd be using this as I thought I'd be looking back, but not showing YouTube. So yeah, you can see originally my offers were here. So like these were my purchase cards down here. On a PSA 9 Mysterious Pearl, I was offering $675. A PSA 10, I was offering $1,300. And these were all struck through. That means these were all purchased at the bottom. Not necessarily both grades, but one of them. And just because I purchased them doesn't mean I paid exactly what was listed as my buy offer. Some people came to me and said, hey, I can't quite do 1,300. I honestly believe, if I remember correctly, I think I paid 1,400 on a PSA 10 Pearl, and then like 750 on a PSA 9. I believe I bought both of those successfully. The next card being a Master Scroll, I offered 1,750 on a 9 and 3,000 on a 10. I do recall that I successfully purchased a Master Scroll from this buy thread from an E4 member for 33 or 3,400. Grand Party, I offered 320 on 9, 500 on 10s. I purchased multiple of each, 9s and 10s. I know that was one of the cards that I actually did buy from this buy thread on the ground, like on the floor at Worlds. Somebody saw this, they reached out to me, hey, I'm going to have a PSA 10 Grand Party. I think I paid $550, so I paid a little more. But again, I put the offer out there. I'm a major proponent of just shooting your shot. worst thing you do is miss. Worst thing you do is you don't get it, right? There's a lot of different, we actually just had, I'm recording this the night of March 20th, Sunday, March 20th. And you'll see this on Tuesday, but we just had our Patreon discussion earlier. And one person during our discussion asked me and Jake, what is our strategy for trying to buy and or acquire a card that none are listed on eBay? And there's very little, if any, sales transaction history. This was exactly my strategy. I referenced this thread when I answered that patron's question earlier today. So little bit of a Patreon preview. Click the link down below if you want to get in on the action in Patreon over there. But yeah, pertain to the video, I kind of laughed as I answered it because I was thinking I'm going to be talking about this in my video later tonight. So this was my strategy for acquiring cards that aren't listed, aren't publicly available on eBay. Continuing down though, Fan Club Eevee, I offered 1,000 on a 9, 1,500 on a 10. You can see right here that I successfully bought. I believe I ended up getting it in an auction for $950. So even lower than I was offering, which was great. Fan Club Porygon, I offered 500 and 1,000 for 9 and 10. You can see, I guess I caved and I paid $645 instead of on my $500 offer. And then trainer number 3 and 4, my original offers were $4,000 plus. You can see that over time, I increased them to 6,000 for a 4, 8,000 for a 3, 12,000 for a 2, and 13,000 for a 1. If you actually look at the title, I increased them a third time, apparently, and I forgot to update them here. So at the end of the day, I was offering 15,000 on a trainer number 1, 12,000 on a trainer number 2, 10,000 on a trainer number 3, and 7,500 on a trainer number 4. I can't tell you the exact cost that I paid, but here are the dates that I bought them. I paid on most of them, I guess on all of them, approximately. One thing that obfuscates it a little bit on what exactly I paid for the full art Pikachu, all 4 of those cards I bought with the entire run of Champions Festivals. So when the winner was awarded with the trainer number 1, they didn't just get the full art Pikachu trainer number 1. They got a champion stamp, finalist, quarterfinalist, top quarterfinalist, top 16, top 32. Some years they got 2 of the highest place. Some years they got 1, and then they got the whole run on down. So like a 4th and a 3rd place wouldn't get the finalist or the champion. 2nd wouldn't get the champion, obviously. They'd just get the finalist on down. 3rd and 4th would get the semifinalist on down. Oftentimes 2 of the semifinalists on down. But yeah, I bought all of these Pikachus lumped in with all the festivals for like one price. So if you kind of subtract out what the value attributed to the festivals was, I probably paid in the range of my low offer to my high offer on all the full art Pikachus, just to kind of bracket. So that'll tell you my original offer on a number 1 was 13. My final offer on a number 1 was 15. I paid between those 2 numbers on my number 1. I was publicly offering these things. The number 1 that I bought too was actually publicly being offered on Verbank. I looked back. If that listing was still there, I was just going to tell you what it was being offered for. Since it was deleted, I assume the person that sold it just was looking to not have that out there still. So I'm going to respect that. But yeah, that's a fair bit of transparency for not being able to tell you, I think, the exact number. I paid in the vicinity of what I was offering. Oftentimes a little bit more, but not a ton more, because the festivals at the time were quite cheap, relatively speaking, to what they are today. I mean, the full art Pikachus were too. So there's all that. Anyone who saw these quotes over here, I haven't referenced them yet. I figured I'd save the spicy little bit there until the very end. But I mentioned my strategy for buying these cards. Had I not made this thread, I also made a duplicate thread of this over on Verbank. But I shot my shot. I went to E4. I made a public buy thread. I went to Facebook and made a public buy thread. I wasn't on Instagram at the time. If I was, I probably would have done some stories with the same buy thread. But around the time that I made this thread, I found some commentary in various messaging platforms. I'm not gonna say who said it. I'm not what some of these quotes are actually from friends, and I kind of bust their chops about it still today. If anyone's watching, shout out to you if you see your own quote here. But I just thought it was funny. Going back to the like worst case, people say no. I guess further worst cases, people might laugh at you for having a bad buy thread that apparently was fairly successful, because then you went out and bought a lot of these cards you were trying to buy. Those are some low balls. Most of these prices were time machine required. Literally nobody will reply to that thread. Literally a lot of people did, because there's a lot of struck through prices and there's a lot of purchases made. No people will reply. So that was just some quotes that I found with reference to my buy thread, which I found funny. A little bit of further commentary towards making a buy thread. There is a little bit of risk that you can run making a buy thread. Like, say, when I made it, I had a little bit of that in mind as well. Like, when I made it, it's fairly likely that there were people out there actively buying some of these cards for cheaper. Part of the reason that some people don't want to publicly put out a buy thread is because, in a way, you could be bidding against yourself. If I privately message some winners, if I privately message some people who had these cards, I could have potentially gotten a better price. It's kind of a weird thing, and it's a touchy subject probably to get too deep into that, but in a way you could end up paying more than you need to making a public buy thread when you come out with, because at the time that I made these, I put a higher price that I was offering than any of these cards had transacted on eBay, PWCC, anywhere that I could find. There were recent sales at or below the prices that I was offering. There were a couple cards that I ended up pulling off. To be fair, some of these criticisms of my buy thread, I was offering on Wonder Platinum, Masters Key, some cards that I was aware of, but I guess not completely aware of the true scarcity and low print run. I believe Masters Key was like 35 copies, and I believe Wonder Platinum was 20 copies awarded. I think I was offering $5,000 on each of those. And some of those, honestly, I was a little bit ignorant of many, well, not many. I was ignorant of some private sale prices. So to be fair, some of my offers were low balls. I think I was offering 5K on keys when some of them had sold for high single digits. I don't think any had sold for 10. Same goes for the platinum. So some of these people might push back and say, oh, I was only speaking to his offer on the key. I was only speaking to his offer on the platinum. Okay. Fair play, I guess, because some of them were a little bit more unreasonable, I guess. But many of them, the bulk of them, the majority, I did put here too. Any PSA 9 or raw mint at Art Academy, I was paying $1,250 plus. Any PSA 9, 10 Pikachu, I was paying $1,500 plus. This was in August of 2019. So you can see after August of 2019, I did successfully acquire a lot of these for actually less than I was offering. So even on those, it was a fairly fair buy thread, I think. I think I've gone on long enough here. I got a little ranty at the end, but that is all the transparency that I can provide on these. Hopefully it is appreciated. If you have any thoughts, any questions, feel free to ask me whatever. I might have to decline answering it, but if I can't answer it, I will. I try to give all the transparency I can where I can. So yeah, if you're interested in purchasing any of these, again, I know my sell prices are pretty high, but they're the lowest on the market for most of them. Shoot your shot. If you've got a number that you want to pay, maybe I just spent 50 grand at Heritage and I'm looking to move something. Shoot your shot. Worst thing I'll do is say no. That's my thoughts, and that's what I'm going to close with. So as always, I appreciate everyone watching. Patreon link is down there. eBay affiliate link is down there if you want to support the channel. You've already supported it enough, though. Feel free to like and subscribe if you want to do it that way. A lot of different ways to do it. This Saturday, I've mentioned it a few times. I'll continue mentioning it because I hope people attend. I hope we have a good chat Saturday night, the 26th, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm gonna have a live chat to celebrate my 1 year on YouTube. So, yep, that's everything, and I will catch you all later.